Stretching is not the first thing people have in mind when thinking about muscle and strength. The importance of stretching in general is often debated as well. Even on this channel, I've pointed out the use of stretching for certain cases, like improving muscle soreness or preventing injuries, has been largely shown to be ineffective. It doesn't mean that stretching has no use, but like most things, the type of stretching you do should be specifically relevant to your goals instead of randomly contorting your body just to feel that burning stretch sensation on the bottom half of your pinky finger. All jokes aside, a new study on static stretching produced some very interesting findings. If it checks out, then my sentiments on stretching might need amending and pinky gains won't be much of a joke after all. So in this video, we're going to stretch our brains out a bit and find out what this 2023 study entails. The study researchers recruited 55 participants, 28 males and 27 females, that had at least 1 year of ongoing strength training experience. For 6 weeks, participants performed a daily plantar flexor stretch, or calf stretch, of their dominant leg. They were instructed to hold this stretch, aided by a calf stretching orthosis, for 1 uninterrupted hour each day. The goal was to see what this daily hour of static stretching had in 3 different outcomes. One is range of motion, which is not too surprising to measure in a stretch-based study, but 2 and 3, which you're more likely interested in, are the outcomes on muscle strength and muscle hypertrophy. Additionally, the goal was to compare differences in outcomes between males and females. So, what did they find? First, range of motion. Both males and females improved ankle range of motion of their dominant leg in the 2 flexibility assessments performed, but improvements were statistically significantly higher in males. This might be partly attributed to males starting at a lower baseline range of motion, giving them more room for improvement. Still, both groups did noticeably improve. Muscle strength, as measured by isometric maximal voluntary contractions in both straight and bent knee-calf exercises, improved in both groups. For the straight knee strength test, however, males had a higher 15.5% increase compared to a lower but notable 8.7% increase in females. Muscle hypertrophy, as measured by muscle thickness in 2 sites of the gastrocnemius, the larger calf muscle, once more increased in both sexes. Males again had a statistically significantly higher 14.5% average growth increase compared to the 4.2% increase in females for one of the calf sites measured. Overall, the results showed that static stretching the calf for 1 hour each day for 6 weeks increased range of motion, strength, and muscle growth in both males and females, with typically higher increases in males. So, how does this happen? Stretching leading to actual gains? The researchers currently hypothesize that stretching, much like resistance training or lifting weights, creates a mechanical load of the muscle, causing structural damage of the muscle fibers. This damage then signals anabolic pathways leading to muscle protein synthesis, a process that drives muscle growth. They also speculate that the less flexible and stiffer a muscle is, the higher the mechanical stimulus created. The male participants in the study typically had lower flexibility than the female participants, which might explain the strength and muscle growth differences between the 2 groups, as stimulation was likely higher for males. Keep in mind, though, that these are currently just speculations and no current research has directly investigated these mechanisms. The findings here potentially opens up a whole new approach to muscle and strength development, especially if the hypotheses are supported in the future. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves just yet, since as always, we shouldn't make drastic changes to our plans based on a single study. That said, this study is actually not the first study the researchers did on this topic. In fact, this study further supported the findings of their previous work, so there is a level of consistency here, which is exactly what we want to see in science. Still, if we take the results simply at face value, there is the bigger dilemma of practicality. Adding 1 hour of stretching every day is probably not feasible for a lot of gym goers. For most, 1 hour at the gym every day is all they have, if not less than that. Plus, we only know that this works for the calf muscles. No current data suggests it can apply to muscles universally. Using stretching as an alternative to resistance training is also off the table, since again, we lack the data suggesting that it can be just as effective as something like lifting weights. It would be cool to see data on how they would perform together though, but again, time would be a big issue. At best, this might be useful for improving lagging muscles and imbalances. If you want to deal with your perpetually small calves, which I know you do, stretching them out at home for an hour while you watch 521 TikTok videos might be worth trying. The researchers did mention something, however, where the findings of this study can have profoundly amazing application, which I am in complete agreement, and that is rehabilitation. If stretching does indeed stimulate muscle and strength, then it can be a great injury recovery tool. Especially for injuries that limit joint stress and muscle loading, stretching can be a relatively low stress and low load stopgap for developing atrophied muscles until more rigorous therapy exercises can be safely performed. In that sense, quite a big win for stretching. At the end of the day, based on the results, I probably won't be going out of my way to excessively increase my ROM for the sake of my 1RM. But with this new information, my personal thoughts on stretching definitely stretched out a bit, and I'll be more flexible with recommending it in the future. Resistance training is still king though. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a flexible thumbs up and share it with your stretch-loving friends. Subscribe for more. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to get your protein.